great Connor Hughes, who does a fine job with SNY. Connor, as always, thank you very much for coming on.
I'm doing well, guys. How are you?
Fantastic. Am I wrong to surmise that the reaching out to Jon Gruden wouldn't have come from Aaron Glenn, but would come from ownership? Am I wrong to think that?
Look, from my understanding, and this is talking from sources within the Jets building, and there's going to be two sides to everything. You can talk to people outside the Jets building, they're going to say this. Inside the building, the Jets are saying this. They stress, and you can choose who you want to believe, they stress that Woody Johnson has been very hands-off in this approach, that they is truly letting Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji run the decisions and make the decisions. With that said, throughout his time as owner, Woody has been somebody that offers his suggestions and throws his things out there. And I know this from talking to previous Jets coaches, that they would be in the building, and whether it was a player to target or somebody to draft, Woody would make his opinion be known, and then it was on the coaches to either say, yeah, let's go through with that, or yeah, let's not go through with that. When it comes to somebody like Jon Gruden and that star power, I would assume that Woody in some way, shape, or form contributed to that conversation. Whether he was the resounding voice and saying, let's go try to get him, I don't know that, but I'm sure this wasn't something that was not or never came across his table whatsoever.
Yeah, but doesn't this feel like it would be a threat to Aaron Glenn's job security if Jon Gruden is on the staff?
I don't foresee Jon Gruden working underneath anybody. I mean, that's
true. But I'm just saying, if he's on the staff, isn't it like, all right, Aaron, you're not doing a good enough job. You're 1-5 to start the season. You're fired. Here's the
recipe for
right
disaster.
Here. Right, it's a recipe for disaster.
It's a recipe for disaster because you're right. As soon as the Jets start the season 0-2, it's going to be get Jon in there, get Jon in there, get Jon in there. It never would have worked. Now, I think and shout out to Zach Rosenblatt for breaking the story and getting that tidbit and putting it out there, but the damning part of it was that Jon was just like, yeah, I'm good, guys. I want no interest in that. That's like the pile on here for the Jets, is that they're going through it. And Evan, you're obviously a diehard fan here. I've covered the team for a really long time. I mean, I don't go back as far as you do with fanhood. My coverage starts 2014. But I can't totally recall this team getting dragged to the degree that they are being dragged. And I think if you look at it just from this offseason, like, it's nothing so crazy or asinine that we haven't seen from this team before. I think it's just the pile on over the last 15 years of like, oh my goodness, here we go again. It just keeps piling on.
It adds up. There's no doubt about it. I think what's concerning is that it feels like they don't know what the hell they're doing. So I'll ask you, with Tanner Engstrand now being out, which is not a surprise once we heard there was a demotion. We knew about Steve Wilkes for a while, but they need a whole new coaching staff. So what the hell is their plan? What are they doing? And do they know what they're doing?
They say they do. they say they do. I mean, look, I've said this when they hired Muji, when they hired Glenn, when they draft these quarterbacks to get these quarterbacks. I'm done believing it. We're now on seeing is believing status. I'm not. This ain't Santa Claus anymore. Like, we are. Show it to me, and then I'll believe it. You know what I mean? That's where we're at with this team. But
right, I don't need tweets saying we have a plan.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, you need to show it to me. I want to see that the quarterback's a franchise quarterback. I want to see you win games. I don't want to hear about it anymore. Even like. That's one of the things where it's like you're slamming your head against the wall at times. Last year with Aaron Glenn at these press conferences where he's like, we've got a plan. Well, dude, like, the plan doesn't look very good at the moment. I'm glad that like things look good behind scenes, but that doesn't win football games. That's not how you win football games. Show me it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. Now, what I can tell you from talking to multiple sources around the NFL, and you can fill in the blanks and connect the dots how you want. And this is tied to the offensive coordinator search. This is tied, or the offensive consultant search, which is now a coordinator search, the defensive search. When the season ended for the Jets, they told all of their offensive and defensive staff that if they wanted to explore other opportunities, they could. So what that means, and Tiki can speak to this so much more, is like they weren't going to deny lateral moves. So if you were a defensive line coach who had another opportunity to be a defensive line coach, they were probably going to accept it. Like, there were very few people that were going to be like, we are not letting you out of the building. They were going to allow them to explore other opportunities. From talking to many of the coaches on staff and some of them who were let go, over the next month, they were never given the indication that their jobs were at risk or that they were going to get fired. So when they were ultimately fired earlier, what was it, last week at this point? Because I feel like we're going in dog years right now.
Right.
Like, when they were let go, I was told that they, quote, were caught off guard. And that is from the people who were let go, that they were operating as business as usual. They were not given any reasoning that they were going to be let go. They were caught off guard by the move. They were going to let go early in the season, 5 months before, whatever. When the Jets were originally having the defensive coordinator search, which is the vacancy that we all knew existed, the conversations that Aaron Glenn was having with candidates, and I talked to several candidates who interviewed for this job, not just one, it was that this was going to be a traditional defensive coordinator opening. Now, there were many big-name defensive coordinators that they were going out there trying to get, and some of those people said, no, I want nothing to do with this job. And I'm sorry if I'm being long-winded with this, but they said, we have no interest in this job. We're not going to get it. Jim Leonard took the interview. Wink Martindale took the interview. They took the interview, and they had conversations with Aaron Glenn. In Martindale's case, having this conversation dating all the way back to December, believing that this was going to be their defense. Martindale was the very big front runner for this job. So much so that when he took that interview in person on Saturday and braved the storm to get here, the expectation that this was I dotting, T crossing, roll out the red carpet, where's my office, where's the cafeteria, let's get to work. When he showed up, he found out that Aaron Glenn now intended on calling plays, and Aaron Glenn had a desire to call plays. That was not going to work with Wink Martindale, obviously, and that's when things started to fall apart. Now, again, I've talked to many other candidates who were interviewed for this job. The Jets talked to 9 people, although only one of the guy they just hired, Brian Duker, they interviewed virtually, not in person. Many of the other people from that initial 8 who I touched base with were never given an indication that Glenn was going to call the plays. Like, it was always like it's going to be a normal defensive coordinator opening. That changed over the last 10 days or so, that Glenn now wants to call it. So from when Wink interviewed on Saturday to, I would say, Monday or Tuesday, I got wind from sources that while Wink wasn't totally out of it yet, the expectation was that the Jets were going to go with a lesser-known defensive coordinator with Glenn calling the plays, which is what they ended up settling on with Duker.
Yeah. We're talking to Connor Hughes. Why did it change? What made Aaron Glenn change his mind?
I've heard conflicting things that I can't totally. I don't want to. No, I'm sorry. I don't want to say it here and then have There's 2 sides of this that I've heard both, and one of them's true, one of them's not. I don't want to pick the wrong one.
Yeah, we speculate that it's simply he's on the hot seat. If I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose it being in control of at least what I have an expertise in, which is on the defensive side of the ball. But it's not the bigger issue for me, Connor, is that it is almost February. We are a month and 12 days away from legal tampering and free agency. Then you got to have the draft, and all these things need to be in place. Coaching staff, et cetera, because they filed Charles London as well, one of those that you mentioned. There's no quarterback. There's no quarterback coach. There's no offensive coordinator. There's no defensive coordinator, even though there is, but he's really de facto because you're calling the defense. This feels like a cluster, and time is not their friend right now. How do they get this thing coalesced in the next couple of days? Because that's what it feels like needs to happen.
Well, from the defense, they have their defense coordinator now. From the offensive coordinator perspective, their original plan, Tiki, was it was going to. They didn't want to let Tanner Engstrand go. This is again I don't know how they ever thought this was going to work, but they didn't want to let Tanner Engstrand go. The plan was just to demote him and strip him of play calling. It honestly was kind of eerily reminiscent of the Giants when Brian Dable took back play calling from Mike Kafka and basically shoved him in a broom closet. And that's what they were going to do, is that they were going to keep him as the quote-unquote offensive coordinator. Then they were going to go add a veteran mind to essentially be the offensive coordinator. I know from Aaron Glenn's conversation with Frank Reich, he told him he's looking for a, quote, head coach of the offense because he was going to be more involved on the defensive side of things. That's what Aaron Glenn was looking for. So the plan was to keep Tanner, but then bring in somebody like Frank Reich, and you're going to call the plays, and you're going to have personnel control, and you're going to get us our players and the coaches and all that stuff. That's how it's going to work, and we're going to move forward with this. The problem with now firing Tanner Engstrand is that you now have to go through the Rooney Rule. Now, I don't totally know if the Jets are going to be able to skate by that by essentially hiring an offensive coordinator but not calling him an offensive coordinator. I think they probably would have gotten some NFL trouble for that. But at least now, they're going to have to go interview 2 minority candidates. They're going to have to do that before they actually hire anyone. Now, from talking to everybody I've talked to, it's the Frank Reich thing sounds like it's getting done. They've already talked contract specifics. This is going to be happening. In fact, I talked to an assistant coach who has already talked to Frank about potentially joining his staff. So it's progressing to that point.
Right.
I'd be surprised if it doesn't get done. But as far as when it's announced, they have to now go through the process of interviewing minority candidates and then eventually landing on a Frank Reich or whatever they decide to do.
Interesting. So the Frank Reich thing, like you said, that's the likeliest scenario with who's going to be the head coach of the offense at this point.
Dude, things can change though, man. We just saw with Wink. That was done. I talked to somebody who was going to be on his staff who told me that Wink was saying, dude, pack your bags, start picking out places to live. This is where this is going to happen. And then it obviously fell apart.
Why? It's such a weird question to ask, but I'll ask it anyway. The Jets feel so toxic. It feels like no one would really want to work here. Is Frank Reich's relationship with Aaron Glenn? Is it Frank Reich wanting to be closer to his buddy Boomer? Why do you think Frank wants this job?
I'll tell you, Boomer jumped up quite a few pegs on my power rankings. We had a lot of talk about the Hall of Fame right now. When I get my vote, he's the one I'm making my fight for at the moment. Look, I think with Frank, somebody close to him was actually talking from conversation. He was very close to retirement. Like Frank was basically like, I'm going to ride this. He was the interim head coach 2 years ago. I think like a consultant last year for Stanford. It sounded like he was about done. This was an opportunity to be like, hey, come call plays. You know me. You're from the area. They're going to compensate him pretty well. Like, I mean, the guy's going to get $4 or $5 million a year to do this job. Like, it's not going to be, it's a pretty nice chunk of change, and coaching contracts are guaranteed. So I think it just became an opportunity that was intriguing to him. Like with Wink Martindale, like who else? Like Jim Leonard wasn't taking this job. Like those big name defensive coordinators I'm talking about that were going to decline the openings, like that we're never going to consider this. The guys who had other options were going to take those other options. But Wink didn't really have anything else. Frank was going to be retired, so he can come and take this opportunity. I think that's probably what you're going to see from these. The real question I have, guys, is if this season goes the way that it looks like it might go, and the Jets do decide to reset, it's not like it's not like no one's going to take this job, but I don't know who's going to love the opportunity next year if these vacancies are open, because, like, I mean, again, I don't remember them being dragged like this.
Yeah,
like, this is a public drag.
Yeah, I hear you talking, and I know what you're saying about Frank Reich, but if you're halfway to retirement, you're retired. And so how are you, as a fan or even an organization, optimistic about that? You know what I mean, Connor? It's like,
I don't know, man. Here's the thing: is like right now it looks. I will say this about the Jets, and I'll spin this one in a green light for them. Is that right now it looks pretty bad, and right now they are being dragged, and they're being mocked, and they're being made fun of. I mean, I was talking to somebody, like the text messages that I have in my phone right now from the people that I've had a chance to get to know around the league, whether it's agents, coaches, front office people. The way that they're talking about the Jets right now is bad. Like they are being really, really made fun of league wide.
Right.
If anybody is built to deal with that because he truly does not give a you-know-what about the public narrative and what people are saying, it's Aaron Glenn. Like he doesn't care what the media writes. He doesn't care what the media says. He doesn't care what other people write. He doesn't care what other people say. He has his inner circle of who he believes in. It's as bad as I think it's going to be right now. From my understanding, Woody Johnson, the tight budget that they had the last couple of years for free agent spending and things like that, that's over. They're willing to spend in free agency. They have all these first-round picks and draft picks. So it's going to be easy to win people back once they start adding players and spending money and drafting guys. Like, the optimism will return. Right now, it's almost like you just got to grab the rails and hold on, because these are some pretty rocky water.
Right? It's as rocky as I've ever seen it. You're dead on. We're talking to Connor Hughes. Now, to bring this back a little bit to Jon Gruden, has anyone from your understanding, any organization, reached out to Jon with any kind of interest since his exile?
I don't know that. So honestly, I got to shout out Zach, because I have no connection to Jon Gruden. I don't. So like when he broke that one, I was like, damn, Zach, like good scoop. Like that was a juicy one. And then of course, like it's gone mega viral because you got everybody at Barstool retweeting it. So, but I wish I could answer that. I'm unfortunately the wrong person to ask. I don't have the Jon. I'd hit up Portnoy and ask him. He would know, or apparently Zach. Yeah.
Well, because my assumption is.
I just wrote Rondé. We'll see what he says.
Right.
There you go.
My assumption is Jon is not, he's toxic. Like he didn't have any job interviews and there were 10 openings, and that it would take a uniquely desperate organization to hire him. And the fact that, and we go back to the beginning of this.
He has the lawsuit against the league still, right? Doesn't he?
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. But the Jets had a willingness to at least hire him, right? As a coordinator, right? So I grow back to next year and say, if things go as badly as we all expect, they are the uniquely desperate team to say, screw the lawsuit. We need somebody. He has won before. Let's bring him in, which is why I think that when we talk about what this organization does a year from now, if things go as badly as we think, I kind of think it'll be Jon Gruden. At least he'll be offered it because no one else is offering him anything. And the Jets are uniquely desperate enough to be the team to say, you know what? We'll take you.
I will say that the way that now Jon can go on any of his platforms now and dampen some of the negativity that's surrounding him turning the Jets down, because that's the gut punch, is that it's not that you offered it to Jon. Like, that's fine. Like, you explored it, you looked into it. It's that, like, Jon said, no, I'm not in. And offered might be too strong of a word, but like you had the discussions and Jon said, I am not interested in that. Like, that seems like just, God, the guy who's been crying to get back in the league and crying to get back to coaching, he doesn't want anything to do with us. Like, that's embarrassing. And Woody's not, again, this is just me talking. This isn't reporting at all. But I could totally see Woody being like, no. You poo-pooed on us a year ago and made us look bad. I'm not returning this to now offer you the head coaching job. But I think, I don't know, man. Like it's a topic worth monitoring. I feel like every hour something's happening with this team right now. So like, who knows? Like I did not see. When I was like getting my pajamas on, ready to go to bed last night, or actually watch a couple of shows on Netflix, like I wasn't thinking that a Jon Gruden scoop on the Jets was going to break. So like, it's every time you think you've seen it all, you truly haven't.
Right,
it is crazy.
Yeah, tell me the confidence that Aaron Glenn is the coach at the end of 2026.
Dude, I mean, I'm glad you're giving me till the end of 2026. Like I thought you were going to give me like Halloween. Like I don't know if I like.
That answers it then.
Yeah, like look, I will say like he has a substantial contract, and there's a lot there. Look, there's not a lot that you can hang your hat on as reasons to believe that this is going to work. Like there's no player development, there's no improvements. The entire staff has been gutted. The draft picks don't look all that. Like there's a lot to be like, dude, this is a disaster. I mean, we're trending towards. Adam Gase has long been the name that you've associated with the Jets and been like, how could it ever be that bad? Like we're trending towards a point where no, this is worse. Yeah. Like that's where we're going to, because the Jets didn't win games with Adam Gase, but they weren't like this. Like these headlines weren't there. They were just quietly bad. Like this is bad. I think the fact that he is a borderline franchise legend plays a lot of role. I think the fact that he chose the Jets and wanted the Jets played a role. I think his previously good relationship with Woody Johnson plays a role. And historically, Woody doesn't fire people in season, and I think he'd like to see this through and show some stability. But guys, if the Jets go out there and win 3 games next year and their schedule is brutal, I don't know how you give them a third year. I don't, especially if this negativity just flows into it. Like Brian Costello had a great tweet where he said, like, the Jets always win the offseason and it feels like they're down 21-0 already.
No,
like
right.
So it's like true. Like it's a very, this is usually, and it's. I said this on SNY actually. Like we're doing the digital show. We brought it back for the off season. We're doing it all throughout the year. And I joked with our producers, Sam Candle and Jeff Goldman. I was saying, guys, like this is when the hype is. Like you want to talk about views and clicks and like monetization. Like this is it. Like this is when everyone loves the Jets. They sign guys. They draft guys. This is the hype. And now it's like, man, even this is bad. So like it's a unique spot right now.
You are right. Now on the other side of things, there's optimism around the Giants, rightfully so. We got the news of Todd Monken getting the Cleveland job. Yeah. Good for him. Where does that leave the Giants right now and John Harbaugh in terms of the offensive coordinator position?
They were really confident in that one. And that's I gotta give some credit to the Browns because they kept that truly under wraps. I mean, the Giants were uber confident that Monken was going to be their dude. Like they were very, very confident in that happening up till 2 days, 48 hours before they announced that today, when they announced that Monken's going to get the job. I saw Davis Webb is somebody they asked to interview. I think that's a really intriguing one. I think the one thing I would fall back on, and this is, it's, like I said, just about with the Jets, like you got to show it now before you believe it. With John Harbaugh, you can give him the grace period of just trust he's going to make the right move. Like that was one of the best things that he did in Baltimore. Was it seemed like they always tended to find the good offensive coordinator, the good defensive coordinator, the good special teams coordinator. Like he always found a way to really make a good, decent staff. Yeah, they missed out on Monken. That's the guy they wanted. But now when they pivot to somebody else, I think you can have a little bit of blind faith that it's probably going to be the right move for him. And honestly, I wish I could give you guys names. I have about 4 text messages out to people right now asking what they've heard. So I'm trying to do that as we speak.
We were talking about Matt Nagy. Who's no longer. He wants to call plays. I know his reputation from his head coaching stint has been really negative, but I mean he's had success even though he doesn't call plays in Kansas City.
Yeah, so I guess
there's names out there.
Yes. There's definitely names. And again, like you can find the quarterback's coach, the passing game coordinator. Like there's a number of things that you can do to go find some people. And the draw to coach in New York, the draw to coach with Harbaugh, Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors, like there's draws for why you would want this offensive coordinator open. In fact, I talked to one offensive coordinator for another team, and he talked specifically about the Giants opening, and he said he'd kill for it. Like, again, he's not going to leave his team. They're not going to let him go for a lateral move, but there's legitimate reasons to want to coach there, especially because if the Giants start winning some games, you know that with Jackson Dart, you've got the quarterback. You start winning some games, you're going to be a head coach in short order. Like the Giants are an opportunity as an offensive coordinator to get a head coaching job pretty soon.
The Jets and Giants could not be more different right now.
Right.
I mean, just even the tone of this, they're on different planets. But
well, dude, I get that. Like I got crap on social media. Like I get it's a unique spot because I have Jets and Giant fans, and right now it's like a war in the mentions for them. They're like, why don't you talk about the Jets the same as the Giants? And I'm like, dude. The Giants just got Harbaugh. They've got their quarterback. They've got hype. They've got money. They got the like. There's good feels with them at the moment. With the Jets, it's like, you know what could have changed is if Dante Moore was in the draft because you could like be like, yeah, he's a developmental project, but at least the quarterback's there. They don't even have the quarterback in the draft. You can circle or pinpoint to.
Is there
at least not this year. Maybe next year they do.
But is there any chance? And you can just put me out of my misery because I'm holding out hope. Is there any chance that based on who the Raiders hire, they say to themselves, you know what? We're not ready. Let's trade back. We can get a boatload of picks from the Jets. Like, let's push on Mendoza. We'll wait till next year. Is there any possibility of that happening?
I don't think so. I'll tell you what, where I thought there was when there was a report. This wasn't me, a report. Somebody reported like Brian Flores, Brian Dable as a potential pairing with the Raiders. Knowing Dable, I was like, oh God, that's not going to work with Mendoza. Like their two personalities, like the way that Dable's like that, like just kind of crazy on the sideline, throwing tablets, mother effing everybody. No way that was going to work with Mendoza. Like that, no way. So I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe that's an opportunity for Moore to go 1, and then Mendoza gets the Jets at 2. But now, no, I think it's pretty locked in there. I mean, there was a clip from the
yeah. Well, wait, is that going to work in Tennessee with Cam Ward?
I do. Well, you know what, Tiki, that's the funny thing is they loved him with the Giants. Remember that at the Combine, they were trying to move hell and high water to go up there for number 1. Like they wanted Cam Ward. That was their guy. And then it just Tennessee was like, we're not trading.
You're just saying Fernando Mendoza's personality is very
I cannot see that with Dable. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong, and like I'll hit up Dable actually after this, or actually I'll probably see him in Tennessee because the Jets play the Titans. Like I got to ask him like if that would have worked because I just don't see it. Like I don't like Dart, Josh Allen, like they all have a certain like mentality.
Edge. Right, there's an edge to them.
Yeah, I don't see that. I mean, those would be a hell of a player.
They get MF'd and they're like, all right, let's go then.
Mendoza's like, the gosh darn it. Yeah, I don't know how that's working.
Well said. Thank you, Connor. We always appreciate it. Great stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
See you, Connor.
The great Connor Hughes of SNY.
That's funny.
One of the football note, we mentioned Todd Monken's getting the Cleveland job. Tom Pelissero reported that after the Browns informed Jim Schwartz this morning that they were passing on him, he was visibly upset, said goodbyes to the building, and told other coaches he's not coming back.
Wow.
Schwartz is under contract, and Cleveland wants to retain him. So they want him back, but I don't know if he wants to come back.
I'm sure Cleveland will handle this well.
Yeah, I'm sure this will go well. But hey, the Jets and Giants both have the DC jobs filled. So
wait, so what does that mean? That means that he wants to quit and leave?
Yeah, he's done. He's
wants to walk out of his contract.
Yeah,
but he can't because they have the contract, right?
They have the rights to him as a DC.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I guess the team could trade for him.
I was going to say, are we trading for Jim Schwartz now?
Well, you're not. You hired your
not
DC.
Us. I mean, I'm just saying anybody.
Yeah.
Like any team that wants Jim Schwartz now has to trade for him?
I guess so.
Oh, that's cold blooded. If the